recording.
Welcome, everyone. I'm Michael Quinn Patton, coming to you from Minnesota and welcoming you to this Blue Marble Evaluation webinar. We are especially delighted today to have an opportunity to learn about transformation at the community level. Over the last year, transformation has emerged increasingly prominently as a theme of global systems change. On Saturday, Eval Youth Network had a conference on transformation of evaluation and evaluation for transformation and social change, focusing especially on the contributions of evaluation to transformation, not just observing it, not just evaluating, but being a part of transformation processes. And over the last year, as we've worked together on Blue Marble issues, the connection between the local and the global, between what happens in communities at the local level and what happens in our global community, and those interactions have taken center stage. They are the spotlight. Things happen at the local level that influence our sense of global change, and at the global level that affect local and community changes. And that interaction has become a central theme of the Marble evaluation and of transformation. And that's where we're going to focus today, with people at the community level doing community transformation and looking at the ripple effects of that for all of us. So to make that introduction, I'm going to turn it over to my friend and colleague, Glenn Page, co-facilitator of the Blue Marble work, to introduce our special guest today. And let me extend both a welcome and great appreciation for your work and your willingness to share with us what you're doing. Glenn?
Excellent. Thank you, Michael. And it is with really great honor and joy to introduce Elena Bonometti, the leader of Tostan. And just as a little bit of background and introduction, Elena, as you'll recognize, she's from Northern Italy, and she left Italy at roughly age of 22 to go to graduate school in Paris. Fine place, fine destination for graduate school, but she said upon going to Africa for the first time at 24 years of age, she said, "It has never let me go since." Such a beautiful statement and such an incredible emotion because of her absolutely stunning work with empowerment of women, working with the communities in which they live, learning from women in communities with a human rights-based approach, a principle of respectful and inclusive engagement, as well as holistic and sustainable thinking. So one of the reasons why this is such a perfect example of Blue Marble evaluation, as you will see that the members and the community participants in this Tostan effort are really weaving all of the core principles together: global thinking, Anthropocene as context, truly transformative engagement at the community scale, and overarching integration. So it gives me great pleasure to introduce Elena, who's presenting Igniting and Sustaining Community-Led Transformation, Tostan's Proven Approach. Over to you, Elena.
Thank you, Glenn. Wow, it's indeed my pleasure to be here, and thank you for such a generous introduction. And let me say hi to everyone, and thank you for joining. It's indeed a pleasure to share a little bit about myself and the work that we have been doing at Tostan, as you said, at the grassroots over the past 30 years. I unfortunately will have to take off the video because of people increasingly joining, and I've had some technical issues all the day long. I'm calling in from Dakar in Senegal, in West Africa. And so we unfortunately experience sometimes, not every time, not every day, some technical challenges. So allow me to switch off the video. And of course, we have prepared some slides for you. So I guess, let me just say a few more words about myself. As Glenn said, half of my life now on the amazing African continent. And I had the chance to work in West Africa, Burkina Faso, Cote d'Ivoire, Togo. Then I had the chance to go to East Africa, Tanzania, Kenya, and Ethiopia, and then personally had to relocate back to West Africa, which was a gift actually, and had the opportunity to land in Senegal, where of course Tostan was very much under my radar. And so 3 years ago, I had the privilege, to succeed the founder, Molly Melching, our inspirational founder, and really joining Tostan, leading Tostan has been both a combination of professional and personal dream. And I've been working for several organizations, you know, including highly effective organizations that really have impact on the field, including World Bank, organization like Mary Stopes International. They really focus on access, infrastructure, building the system for the governments really to run their agenda. But I've always felt and witnessed that, you know, people might have access to technology, might have access to services, family planning, vaccination, etc. But what if they decide not to use them because of social norms, because of you know, the culturally relevant practices that are attached to their values? And I've been always admiring Tostan for this, really for going to the root causes of inequalities, injustice. And so once again, today we are so proud of their work, and I'm such a proud leader. And today I'm extremely excited because I feel there is such a nice connection and alignment with Blue Marble. And I must say it is a great moment to be having this conversation with you today at Tostan, as Tostan is really very much in a forward-looking mode, and very motivated actually to see in this new exciting stage of life how we can really support the scale and the amplification of the impact of community well-being. And so I'm so looking forward to hearing your questions and ideas, and I'm sure there are many will emerge today. Yeah? So I like to tell stories, so I want to really, so I'm putting my chrono because I like to talk. And I know I have 20 minutes. And so then, of course, we will do question and answers. So let me get started so we can make the most of our time together. And I will definitely begin by giving you a very brief overview of Tostan as an organization for those who don't know us. And then I wanted to share, of course, some perspective on our work in relation to yours. So I've prepared a couple of slides on that. So please, next slide. So we are an African organization, and though, sorry, I have trouble seeing the slides. Yeah, so we are an African-based organization. As I mentioned, 30 years. We will be 30 years next year, and we work directly with the rural communities. These are our main stakeholders, main partners, not the only one. So next slide. We work across 5 African countries so far. So we currently have our international headquarters in Senegal, and we work in Mali, in the Gambia, in Guinea-Bissau, in the Republic of Guinea, and we have been working in many more African countries. And of course, we cover, you know, globally through our Tostan Training Center, which is based in Thiès. We are today a little bit more than 750 staff located in all these countries, and with a few persons based out of the US, of course, to help us fundraising. But we are really supporting the governments with which we work, in particular the local governments, and I will go back there, of course. So this picture is very important to us. It's a woman and a child. These are at the heart of what we do, of our, I always say, our broader development agenda, but that is possible because we work certainly with the whole community. So next slide. So our mission is really dignity. Our vision is definitely dignity for all, for everyone in the community. And I must mention that, you know, the photo that you see here is a very typical of a rural community in which we work. Sorry, that's the next one. So our mission is Tostan, of course, empowers communities to develop and achieve their own vision of the future, and has also inspired over the last 30 years large-scale social movement leading to dignity for all. And so on the next slides, you see really a typical village in which we operate. These are resource-poor communities that are very far, they are very remote, they have very little access to services. health, in particular in education services. And also we work in particular with adults, but not only adults that have not gone to school. And so we also do, we use a lot of pictorial devices, but we also do literacy, and adults that are men and women, but also children. And we are very conscious that also there are some intergenerational tensions in communities like the one we work. And so we normally work with youth and with adults, and then we facilitate, of course, the discussion among them. So next slide. Let me just spend a few words about really the work that we do, and in particular the community empowerment program, which is our flagship. Now we do many more things, but I think this is really the foundation of our work. And it's a 3 years educational program, non-formal education program. So under the baobab, in a setting like the one you just seen. And it's really a human rights based approach. It's holistic. And it really results in the whole community empowerment. And I would say also engagement, because we see that out of that, of this journey, really the community is in charge and has a vision for their future. And again, there are 3 main words. It's really the human rights based approach, and it's respectful and inclusive. We have no judgmental with regards to what has happened or what is happening in the community. We come in and support a transformational journey of the community that we serve. And we always seek to work in ways that are holistic. And of course, sustainable is at the key of what it does. The sustainability is at the key of what we do. And there is one of the major results of the program is that we leave behind us, when Tostan, goes through a process of 3 years, leaves behind a community management committee that is going to bring forward the vision of the future and well-being of the community. Now, just one more slide on us. So the next one, please. Please, next one. It's about our impact. And, of course, Blue Marble is talking about the evaluation, and I know I have many experts on the phone today about this. So I just picked one very important data about us. So since 1997, which is when really communities started wanting to discuss about what they called the transition at that time, which is referring to female genital cutting, nearly 9,000 communities have publicly declared their commitment to abandon harmful practices like female genital cutting and child marriage. And we estimate that has impacted 5.5 million people so far. And this is the impact that we are mostly known about, but of course it's not the only one, but it's a very important one and one we are very proud of. And I would say more maybe moving from numbers to words, I would say from the quantity to qualitative. Over 30,000 women have been elected or selected for leadership position at community, district or national levels across the countries in which we have worked. And this is an astonishing data because the model, as I told you, has women and children at the heart, but also has talks about the community as a whole, because these women become leaders because they are allowed by the whole community to do so and encouraged and empowered by them. So that is also an important fact. Now, before we move, I just want to make sure that, so I just picked one, which is a famous one, but Tostan tracks really a wide range of outcomes and impacts across 5 sectors, which are the education, health, the environment, of course, the governance, as you have seen, and also economic empowerment. And of course, you have seen this, for which we are best known for. But today, actually, and I really want to share this with you, we just received the final draft or action and evaluation report that has, on which we have invested a lot in terms of energy and resources as well, that shows a very interesting correlation. And as the experts say, a statistically significant correlation between our program and reduction in intimate partner violence. And so, of course, the agenda of gender-based violence is a top one for all our societies. And so we are so proud that because of the cohesiveness, because of the inclusiveness, of the increased communication between the partners and within the household. Really, the model is able, not addressing gender-based violence as a single issue, but within a holistic approach, is really able to have really significant impact on reducing gender-based and in particular intimate partner violence. So I should also mention that we not only have rigorous qualitative evaluation, but also quantitative work. But I would like to add a little bit more about the qualitative work and the fact that Tostan has always been a data-driven organization, but in our way and rooted again in our experience. And I want to say that because, of course, it's important to understand the DNA of our organization. So the model is born from inputs from the people that we serve. The model, the community empowerment program has been developed based on specific needs of each community. And so, of course, when we were small, for us, and still true actually, that we are operating at scale, but every community is unique. And so it was somehow very important to have that feedback loop. And that is possible because we have a facilitator embedded in the community for 3 years that works really in local languages and is able to build also trust from the community. And that is the foundation of the work that we do, of course. And with that trust, of course, we are able to sense the nuances of the changes that happen at the community level. And those words, I would say, that those qualitative data have really allowed us to be successful and to successfully address and accompany the communities in their transformational journey. Now, the challenge for us has been to do this at scale because every community is unique and many communities are unique in the same way. And it was important to us to understand, to capture the uniqueness with numbers. So basically invest in the numerical side of that qualitative DNA, supplement that with really the technology as well. So we embarked in a transformational digital journey to really have numbers and words at the same level and make sure that those feedback loops augment each other and supplement each other so that we can synthesize and talk about the community, but at a broader level. So I wanted to make to put this out there because it's very important. And now that I've shared a little bit more about Tostan, I, of course, want to go a bit deeper. And let me do a check in time. Yes. And I thought I would that by sort of looking at Tostan through the lens of the Blue Marbles principle and concept. So next slide. So I might look at Tostan through the marble, so to speak. And of course, go through the 4 principles and take you back, of course, to our practice and to our work. So let's start then. Next slides. So the first principle, Anthropocene, and I hope I pronounced that well. And I need to be honest, we don't speak about the Anthropocene at Tostan, at least not yet, maybe after this work together. But whatever we do is really based and rooted on the idea that humans are the central actors and agents in the system that actually challenge our world and are also the drivers of those solutions to that challenges. And in fact, this principle really speaks to a very deep way of working, of the way Tostan works. And it's really going deep to create a model that is meeting people where they are. So when we enter a community and we start the journey, and the journey is of course sequential, there are several curriculum that are facilitated, and we start of course with human rights, but by no means, never there is a Tostan agenda. This journey is meant to allow the community to have a vision for their well-being, to have their own agenda, and to create. And we basically provide the tools and the opportunities and the opportunity to organize themselves to achieve that agenda. And so within this principle of Anthropocene and really having people at the center and really start where people are and work from within, I think we also resonate a lot with how Blue Marble is prioritizing what you call a balanced assessment of the context. We certainly know, in particular in these resource poor areas, that communities have challenges, but there are so many assets, and we have been very proactive in having a very positive narrative about what we find at community level, because there are so many positive things going on, and we want to push them forward. And of course that, and create that sense of pride also in what communities can achieve. It is so important for us to uncover the values, of course, that matter to people, but is seeking also and exploring together with them in this kind of nurturing environment, which is the class, a safe space where they can express themselves and really see how people understand topics, discuss about them, and really start from what is working, what is positive. And we feel very strongly, I think as you do, Glenn and team, that we need to really root ourselves in what is at stake for everyone. And in fact, we have really found that uncovering their reality is just what sense, the sense of what matters to them, what is at stake. For doing that, one needs to take a culturally deeper approach, a really not judgmental approach, to go, of course, to the root causes again, to go beyond the surface. And really building a curriculum around people, around their needs, around what they need to do their journey, have, of course, given, again, that nurturing environment for new voices to emerge. And of course, we see and we hear particularly new voices from women that at the beginning of the course are not even able to talk. They cannot express themselves, but then they start keep taking confidence. They start to see that what they say makes sense, that others are they are really appreciating that, and then they take confidence and they are able to practice really public speaking. And you have seen more than 30,000 today are leaders, because they are leaders, but they just need to have the confidence to express that. So that those conversations to what is at stake are so important. And I want now to bring you to embark you in a journey, because I want to root this back, not this to be abstract, but I really want to bring this back to the work that we do. So in the next slide, I want to embark you really on a journey, and we are going today, I hope you're ready for the ride, to Medina Yoro Fula, which is southern Senegal. It's a wonderful village. It's a commune actually composed by several villages. And it's one of those communities that we work with. We have thousands of this, and I've chosen one because it's a special one, and you will understand why a little bit down the line. So Medina Yoro Fula is one of those communities in southern Senegal that do practice, actually they used to practice female genital cutting and child marriage. But the fact that we went through a journey with them, they eventually decided to publicly declare the commitment to abandon the practice. And in the commune of Medina Yoro Fula, no one practices FGC anymore. Again, not 100%, because you need to build a critical mass, but definitely these villages have all abandoned these practices and see women really leading differently because of that. Now that journey is a journey where people reinforce their values by discussing what is the values that there is underpinning, the social norms. And it's so important that this journey is a journey that is chosen by the community, and by reinforcing their values. In this particular case is the love for their daughters, for them to have access to a better life. They are able to align those reinforced values, those reinforced values to the new practices. So there is a reinforcement of the what we call a validation of the values, a discussion of the values, but actually a reinforcement of that. But the abandonment of the values, of the practice, there is aligned with that. And there are other communities like Medina Yoro Fula and other practices. So I just taken an example, and I know recently we have been confronted with a practice that has shaken us at the Tostan Training Center. I don't know if you heard of the Mingi practice that is practiced in Ethiopia. We receive at the Tostan Training Center, based out of TS, many different groups that want to go through a transformational journey with us. And we received a group from the Olmo Valley, actually religious leaders, chief leaders from the Olmo Valley, that wanted to start, questioning that practice, which is actually a practice that is bringing the community to kill their babies because they are born with some conditions. And so I think that has taught us a lesson that is, again, a lesson of finding people where they are, not to judge come from come from a place of respect, of really no judgment, and being able to advance on their journey. So let me now continue in the interest of time. Let me go to GLOCO. And I think, so next slide, thank you. So I think Tostan very much works in this spirit. I love this word, GLOCO, because it allows me really to do this connection that we work at the grassroots, but we also, we also have the ambition to influence at the global level. And so it's so important for us to connect. And I think, Glenn, I think we are actually wonderful complementary on this, because we are looking at each other from two different viewpoints, as much as ever I understood. So Tostan is deeply rooted in the micro level. I think there's no doubt that we believe in the deep engagement at the micro level. And it seems to me that Blue Marble is really bringing a wonderful macro level perspective on this. And so if I can talk about Tostan, I think, Tostan believes really in local and doesn't take a global vision and figure out how to make it locally relevant. Of course, it's the other way around. And Tostan takes the local priorities that are identified by communities themselves across hundreds today, but thousands over the past 30 years, and helps make those local priorities implemented in a global strategic way. And I want to bring in now Khalidou Sy, which is, next slide, which is the mayor of Medina Rafula. That's why Medina Rafula is so precious to us. Actually, Khalidou has been working for us for quite some time. He was the national coordinator of Tostan through all our journey, a transformational journey as well within the organization, and stepped back from Tostan in 2015 because he became the mayor of his village, which is called Medina Rafula. And as a mayor, he has undertaken a whole range of initiatives. And this, when I think about GLOCO, I think about what Khalidou Sy was able to achieve with the community management committees and, of course, his council. He did something very different from others. He put people at the center. He gave them the opportunity to participate in a different way. Thanks, of course, to his Tostan lenses, he put people at the center. He put women at the center, children at the center, everyone who was able to contribute, and ask them for their views and give them accounts. All what he has done is based on transparency and accountability. And actually the Senegalese government has recognized him. He has won a lot of prizes. And actually that particular moment for us as an organization was an aha moment. And we developed a new strategic outlook out of that experience that is really bridging actually the community to the local government and really prepares communities to advocate for their own development plan, and really prepare also local governments, because now we also train local governments at their roles and responsibility. And that allows both of them on each side to engage meaningfully with the community members, of course, in participatory budgeting, in really advocating for resources to be in allocation of resources where the needs are. And I think, we also teach during these classes the sustainable development goals, and I think that is so important. And it's so important that people understand what they do at the grassroots is impacting, of course, definitely at the national level, but also at the global level. And that's why GLOCO to me means too much. And I want to tell you what Khalidou was able to do with the support of a different engaged community. With the same funding that the government gives to a commune to build a school, Khalidou Sy and his commune are able to build 2 schools. Community members bring sand, bring water, bring the manpower, and so with the same exact funding, he builds 2 schools, and he has increased and improved really the attendance rate, but also the successful rate of the kids in his commune. So I think this is a fabulous work that talks to me about really this local and the power of that local. So now, in the interest of time, because I see I like to tell stories, as I told you. So next slide. I had transformative engagement is also a very important principle to us, but I would like to go to the next one, which is even, the one who resonates the most with us, and maybe we can come back. And this is an example of Guinea-Bissau, where really community management coordinator in Guinea-Bissau is talking with our national coordinator, and is really kind of talking about the importance of human rights and the fact that human rights has helped them, the resilience given to them by the human rights instrument has given them to address the COVID pandemic. And of course, in the Q&A, if I have the opportunity, I will tell you a little bit more how our communities have dealt with the pandemic. And, you know, we say, alhamdulillah, now we are able to go back almost as normal because of the really very decreased rate of infection here in West Africa. So let me address the next principle, last but not least, because I think this is the one more or less that resonates the most with all of us at Tostan. And, you know, our programs, whether it is the community empowerment program, the 3 years, and also our training program out of the TTC for other organizations that want to learn and share with us, are really complex and very carefully designed in a sequential way. And they are not a manual. Although we are very open to innovation, to experimentation, to customization, we have a very deliberate, constructed approach. And this has been, of course, both a tremendous adventure for Tostan over the years, but also somehow a challenge. One might say a liability. But actually, our work with communities touches a really broad range of topics, as you have understood, and they cannot function a la carte. And I'm sure you, Glenn and team at Blue Marble, you have seen this. You know, our world is really working a very silo-driven, piecemeal sector. So many funders still are driving a single issue agenda. But, you know, our reality is complex, of course. And at Tostan, we haven't really compromised on that for a simple reason, which is effectiveness, which is sustainability. So if we only do health modules, as we have always been requested to, or family planning modules, we have repeatedly requested to, without first doing human rights, democracy, or we don't follow with project management, with feasibility studies, community really don't engage in the same way. So for us, it's so important that we have an interconnect. We care about the interconnection of what we do because people are multidimensional. And also we care about the interconnectivity of actors. And in particular for social norms theory, this is so important. We talk about a reference, a social network of reference. By no means you can stand up one day and decide to change alone a practice, a social norms. You are positively or negatively sanctioned as an individual if you don't or do that. So that is true for female genital cutting, child marriage, but also true for many other things. And we have seen with Khalidusi and the Council of Medina Rafula that actually transparency and accountability are part of that. In some of the communities where we operate, when you are elected, you are expected to redistribute public goods. In other words, you know, you feel you are judged to be bad if you don't do that. But actually, everyone, when it's recognized, can stand up to say that is not accepted anymore. And that is, you know, how really norms can change. And the fact that Tostan enables really religious leaders, local government authorities, of course, but also, you know, also funders, I would say, to be in a co-creation space for those, you know, more ecosystem to happen and to thrive. I think this has talked a lot about, you know, the success of the module and the sustainability of the module that we have. So I just wanted to end on a last slide, which is allow me to go back to Medina Rafula and to stop there our journey. So it's the next slide. This is the Medina Rafula Youth Council. So we have a youth mayor that is shadowing our mayor, Khalidusi. And so they are doing actions. They are working in particular areas, but, you know, across all the actions, and they are the best advocate for their siblings. They built what they called in French, les castes tout petits. So these are nurturing spaces for their little siblings to really learn from very little age about human rights and how they can contribute to the well-being of their commune. And they are invested really in so many actions for their communities. So this is to me an example really of the integration. And again, this example really resonates so much with our work. So I had prepared a couple of slides on our scaling vision and how all these principles together can apply now to our forward looking. But of course I will pause there because I'm out of my time. And then I will come back, of course, if I have an opportunity during the Q&A. Thank you so much for your attention.
Elena, that was just marvelous. I'm thrilled to see the way that you're using the principles and finding them relevant and meaningful. It warmed my heart, and that's why we've put them out there and developed them, and want to work with you to continue understanding their application. The last slide you showed all those young people in masks, and you made reference to how the community is dealing with COVID. And as you know now, no doubt know, the United States in particular and Europe is struggling with the coronavirus. The expectation was that Africa was going to be even worse, and it's turning out not to be that way in many parts of Africa. So let me ask you to begin by telling us a bit more about how the community has responded to COVID and what you've learned about that.
Thank you so much, Michael. This is such an important question, and thank you for asking, because I didn't have the chance. And you have seen, of course, pictures that I wanted to try to show them to you of our communities really working to serve community members, and that it was in particular community management committee that became actually prevention ambassadors with all of us at Tostan during that particular time, which was from March to end of September. And as I told you, we have been able to resume operation like almost like normal, and we are of course so proud of that. So during that period, we realized as Tostan that there was a lot of messaging, and again, messaging about what you should do and what you shouldn't do, but never messaging that was going really to the heart of people by saying why. And so we developed some, we felt we were uniquely positioned to really develop some tools that could allow people to really have discussion around what was going on, what was the virus, what was the consequences, at least as far as we knew, and then allow communities really through also the some pictorial devices. So we did those booklets with a lot of pictorial, so that people could really have discussion within their household with children and allow them to change their practices. Because, for example, one of the best practices in Senegal, for example, is to eat around the same bowl, around the same plate, and that was not feasible anymore. And let's not talk about greetings, of course. And I must say that our communities in particular have been confronted with the Ebola crisis as well. So some of them were particularly prepared to be able to talk to their community members. But I think what is most important, that we have supplemented the resilience of people. We have seen that the modules, in particular the community that I work with Tostan, were resilient and were ready to adapt to new ways of doing things, and we're able to support others in what we call the organized diffusion. So people that reach out to other people to create that movement, a large-scale movement. And we have seen that through radio, so we did a lot of radio program, and through the engagement of religious leaders that were particularly critical in this phase, we were able really to spread accurate messages for people to take action for their well-being. So there were two booklets, actually. One booklet talking about the why, and one which was using the Quran to really supplement the social distancing measures, and was really targeting and addressing, helping actually imam to really have accurate and really meaningful speeches during, of course, the Friday prayer and etc. Because in fact, there was a lot of fake news going around and misinformation. In particular, communities didn't have the information in their local languages. So communities reacted, and they are particularly resilient, and we are proud that we are able to support them, and we were able to support them with something that was unique and was used, by the way, globally beyond Africa. We put them in open source, we translated it in 16 languages, and you can find them on our website.
One of the, let me do one more question, then we'll turn it back to Glenn to pick up the many questions on chat. One of the issues that's been emerging is being able to extract lessons from the response to COVID for preparation for climate change. And of course, that's out on the horizon, but are you seeing ways in which you're working with the community and their response to COVID and the other things you're doing that can also apply to the expected changes that are coming with climate change, both the sea rising along the Senegal coast, the increasing temperatures that are expected in West Africa. Are you your integration principle and cross-cutting principle that you've articulated so brilliantly? Are you seeing the opportunity to make these connections with these other issues?
Absolutely, absolutely. That is a big yes. And you know, as I mentioned in the introduction, we have 5 areas of expected outcomes. And again, these are things that we see repeated in a repetitive way in all the communities that we work. Each community is unique, but somehow, you know, all of them are unique in the same way. And so all of them take actions, in particular with the environment issues, because these are, again, not, things that you could see. And, you know, climate is completely changed here in West Africa and in all across Africa, of course, and in particular affecting these communities that work in agriculture. So the agricultural season are changing, and this is, of course, affecting them very much indeed. So yes, the methodology that we are using, and by the way, this is not only the methodology the Tostan uses, but all the methodologies that put people at the center and empower them to lead their way, are allowing them to adapt and to course correct where, you know, they see that their priorities are changing. And so I think that increasingly also having, you know, women and children having a different voices in this. The fact that men are not the only one on which we see, you know, a lot of testimonial from the men that work with partners, communities at Tostan, saying that they enjoy the fact that there is more discussion and they don't feel the burden of everything. And so I think that, you know, more inclusive society allows for a better discussion of topics and for better decision making. And I think all of this is problem solving, boils down to problem solving, to really take decisions that are in the interest of the community, to have a longer term vision. And so environmental decisions are by definition decisions that are going to have a longer term vision. And I think the communities in which we work are better prepared to take those decisions, long-term forward-looking decisions that are going to impact the life of the children of those communities. Indeed. Mm-hmm.
Merci beaucoup. C'est formidable. Formidable. I'll pass it back to Glenn. Merci.
Thank you. Thank you, Michael, so much.
Incredible, Elena. Incredible. This is absolutely wonderful. And the issues that you're facing, as you described, so many of them, so many issues you're addressing. And there's a term that we use regarding these multi-dimensional aspects. But those who succeed and do it really well are moving at the speed of trust. And it sounds like that is really what you're doing. You're moving at the speed of trust within the different communities, accelerating in some areas and sort of moving at the pace that's needed in others. If you could just say more about that moving at the speed of trust in the work that you do.
Thank you, Glenn. This is something that, you know, I haven't stressed enough maybe in my presentation. Thank you for giving me that opportunity. Trust to me is key, and the co-creation that comes with trust is key to this process. And time is relative. We are talking about time in a very different way, but I think that pace that belongs to people, you know, and it's very different. It can vary. Now we of course have standardized this across 3 years, but for us it's so short. And many people are asking us, oh, wow, this is so long. Oh, and we said, you know, going to school, it's a long process. How long have you gone to school, you know, yourself? And I think that pace of trust, that patient, being a patient partner, and a partner that allows for people for things to unfold. And again, I mentioned the declaration. There are communities that decide to declare after 3 years, communities that decide to declare after 10 years, communities that decide not to declare. And for us, that is fine. That is not our agenda. Just to tell you, you know, one aspect of the work. And I think the patient there is a patient that comes from a place of respect, again, and no judgmental view. And I would like to say that we have worked so wonderfully with partners that understand this. And when I say partner, of course, local government, first of all, religious leaders, because some of the religious leaders we work with are against somehow what we do. And so in some communities, we have understood, that we have learned that we need to engage people meaningfully to really explain what is what are we talking about. And then this has taught us to really engage religious leaders first and take them on the journey. And so those who were really fierce, people that like to contest and to say that they really didn't want to hear about Tostan either. And I remember, some writing Tostan in the classes and then say, oh, well, Tostan, and just skyped up. And then they become really our ally because they think this is so much aligned with what the Quran says, this is again, but because it comes from a place of respect and from a place of allowing, if I go back to what you said, really the pace of each and every one, the pace of that trust that needs to be built.
Yeah. Beautiful. There's some wonderful questions in the chat, and I'll try to get to as many as possible. And thank you all for these wonderful inquiries.
I wasn't able to look at them, I hope.
Oh, well, they're very nice. Well, this one picks right up where you just described regarding the power of religion. So this is from Mary Dalson. Changing social norms can be enhanced by engaging religious actors. Curious the difficulties with doing that given the subordinate role of women and youth in those arenas typically. Curious if Tostan has a principle to guide staff around who in communities engaged or how.
Mm-hmm. No, thank you for that question. So there are multiple questions there. So let me ask we work in an environment which is, where religious has a major piece. And it's, of course, not only the Muslim, majority Muslim, but the religion and values, because religion is, of course, associated to values. And that's why it's so important to engage people around their values, again, from a place of no judgmental, and really question them, go to the root causes of, the root of those values and engage them in what is aligned with their values. And that is religious values. And we need to do that with our staff first. And I remember, being in our induction, in our onboarding, and then we do a more deeper onboarding about our methodology. And I remember when our imam, the imam that works with us, Imam Sharif Diop, comes and does his session and aligns the principle of our work with religion. Some of the staff even start crying. They say, oh, wow, we belong so much here, because this is also reinforced by the religious values that we have. That is so important. This is really about the human being. And so now what we do is really, as I said, I somehow just responded, we engage with these values and with the religious leaders in the first place. And of course, also with the transitional chief. And it's true that in some of these religions, you might know that the woman or the child doesn't have the same place. But those religions always talk about harmony, talk about the cohesion of the family, talk about the importance of well-being. And so these are the things that you need to put forward and that you need to put the accent on, and so that everyone finds a place and knows how he can contribute. I remember, lately we did a descriptive study. We went back to communities that have gone through the community empowerment program 5 years ago. So we went back to look at the impact and what the community management committees are doing. And with the firm that was doing the external evaluation, we really discussed so much about which question do we ask to understand if the woman is now empowered. And so we saw that, for a woman in a religious context, like Muslim religious context, to really say, for example, that she can go out without ask permission is kind of going against the religion. So, asking that question, Glenn might think, okay, that woman needs to ask for permission. She's not empowered. She cannot leave the house because she doesn't ask permission. That is not true. That is not true, but it's true. So you need to go deeper. You need to go deeper to understand. And the value of the language is so important. So we understand that we need to ask different questions. So that question, are you going out without the permission, is not talking about the empowerment of the woman. It's talking about the woman that is respectful in that context. And we always do so if she knows that, that is culturally relevant for her. So I don't know if you get my point, but, so it's very, values and human rights needs to be living values, living human rights, living rights. And so things needs to be contextualized. But what we know from our experience, yes, indeed, we need to engage, to go deeper and to engage in very meaningful way with people that are able to sustain that change, able to allow people to change. Because they are their social network of reference. So in a context where we work with social norms, you need to address the social network of reference in order to be able really to have a significant change and impact and sustainable change and sustained change. Sorry. Yeah, I hope I did understand. I did respond briefly to that.
Yeah, beautiful. And I'll tell you, the learning that you're describing it's relevant to the world. It's so important, so critical. So this is a question from Andrea Lisa, and it's in addition to information-based learning objectives, what is the scope of a community-generated curriculum? Are there aspects of the curriculum that addresses other types of capacity?
So the curriculum, I hope I understand, the curriculum addresses so many things. That's why it's so holistic. It's a 3 years, so it's facilitated in local languages. Again, we have worked across 22 different languages across the 8 countries where we operated. And the curriculum is also a piece of literacy and numeracy skill, which comes a little bit later. It starts from, the human rights. Again, locally relevant. There are 19 that we teach, but this is about what is happening here, what is a positive in the village, what is not happening, how have you been, for example, if we talk about discrimination, have you been victim yourself of discrimination? And then the discussion starts from there, and etc. So there is a piece on human rights and democracy, and then hygiene, health. We talk about, we give information with no judgmental, with neutral, with a neutral voice. And then we go also through project management, feasibility study, because, people are prepared, feel more prepared, and then they want to make, they feel an individual responsibility when they are more aware and conscious, and then that transforms into a collective, into a collective mood. And so we also support them to have, really to have some income generating activities in the village. We provide very little funding just to do practice, but then other NGOs come and support that work. So we do the foundational work, the preparedness work, and then others can chip in and come with their vision. So it is a curriculum that has been changed. We, at each iteration, we are a little bit obsessed with learning. That's why I said we are a data-driven organization, but more with words. So we listen to people first. This is a constant loop. And so the curriculum has improved over the years. And at each iteration, we change, we improve, we add, we add something else. And then the major addition now has been really to move from a community programming to a district programming. And that is so important because we bridge that gap with the local district. So now we train on the 2 sides. And so we are able to really have we were talking about a social change model. Now we talk about a system change model, because we are able to bridge that gap and to have engaged citizens that are really able to drive their agenda, not only at the community, but also at the district level. So at the regional level, I would say, depending on the kind of administration set. And so that curriculum is improved. And we also have post-CP, we work with parental practices. We strongly believe that adults has a major role in really allowing kids to be better successful in school. And we also work on peace and security. Again, another very critical factor where women have a major role to play as really for allowing the community not to escalate to bigger conflicts. And of course, we have worked in the Casamance, in many areas where that was an issue, particularly at the border. Yeah, so let me stop there to allow more questions.
Well, that is absolutely beautiful. And I also want to recognize Queen Sheba Sise. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly, but Queen Sheba Sise, you are contributing wonderfully in the chat. So thank you so much. That perspective is so critical. So maybe this is the final question, because Elena, I know you need to leave to another call and we'll need to wrap up. But this is from Katrina. And it says, thank you, Elena and Queen Sheba, for underlying the importance of relationships and taking time to center the people in what is important to the root. She's stepping away, but Christina asks, to what extent has the Senegalese central government taken the Tostan approach on board in their policy documents? Or can the various decentralized administrations decide to adopt elements of the approach independently? For example, social programs in health, water, sanitation, education, etc. So maybe if that will be the last question, and we'll try to document the remainder of these questions to have them available.
Thank you. Thank you for that question. I think there are two answers to the first one. Thank you, Katrina, and thank you, Queen Shiba, for contributing so much. So we have been proud that because the Senegalese government has realized that the approach that we were suggesting, and this has been, back in the 90s, of course, early 2000s, the approach that we were promoting about abandoning, not fighting against mutilation. This is not a jargon that we use. We don't use mutilation. This is not respectful for us, even though we know that these are practices that affect girls and women. But we are also respectful for why people do it. And so we talk about excision en français, and we talk about female genital cutting. So we don't fight against anything. We are promoting really the abandonment of these practices. And so the government of Senegal has adopted the methodology of Tostan for the promotion of abandonment of female genital cutting across the country. So that is a huge, of course, step, and we are very proud to support the government there. And we are implementing partners of UNFPA and the other agencies that support the government, and the Ministère de la Famille, the family minister, for doing that. On the other side, what we are doing at the local level, of course, to us, has the power to be really demonstrational to what can be achieved, not by Tostan, by, of course, the local government supported with the right tools. This is not about Tostan. This is about a methodology that can really allow citizens to be engaged, to participate to the allocation of budget where they think it's important to allocate resources, and to contribute, as I was saying, instead of one school, to build two schools, because there are so many needs about schools and we want our kids in school. So people can make that happen. So for us, we are doing this across West Africa where we work, in district where we think we can demonstrate the full potential of the model. And we are going further because we want to demonstrate the impact. Now we're talking about our results, but what about the impact? The impact that is shown by all the technical, the devolution in the framework of the devolution, all the people that are really accessing services, providing services, and people that are providing those services, and the data information systems that are collecting this data. We are trying also to help people doing their jobs and be able to prove that it's important to provide those services, and also for planning purposes, but also for giving better chances to women, children, and men. And so I think that is our ambition for the scaling. So you gave me the opportunity to talk about that, really having a vision where we can demonstrate the full potential of the model and allow governments to take it up, to really allow people to be empowered to know their roles and responsibilities, if possible, in their languages, because otherwise they can't contribute, because no one is comfortable with French, English, Portuguese. So we need to teach in local languages to allow people that have not gone to school to fully participate, because they can, and they are having a wonderful impact in cities like Benidi and Rufula.
Incredible. Elena Bonometti, thank you so much. And for all the participants, members, contributors to the Tostan model, this is truly something for the world to be aware of. And we'll do everything we can to share and discuss this story to the wider networks. Over to you, Michael.
Thank you. Glenn, allow me to say thank you. I'm humbled that I had this opportunity, and thank you so much for your thoughts. And, stay tuned, follow us on social media. We really want to hear from you. So thank you so much for this opportunity. Allow me to leave. Sorry for that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Elena.
Thank you.
So Charmaine is going to tell you about the upcoming webinars we have. Let me just leave you with a final story that came to mind as Elena was talking about the importance of context in interpreting what's going on, especially around the changing relationships of women and men and gender changes in society. The famous American TV journalist Barbara Walters was in Afghanistan 10 years ago talking with women rights organizations and women empowerment groups there. And she said to them, when I first came to Afghanistan 15 years ago, women were walking 5 meters behind their husbands. I've noticed now that they're walking 10 meters behind their husbands. Why that difference? And they said, landmines. So context can become quite different when we understand different things that are going on. Tomorrow we have a special celebration for the Blue Marble, and Charmaine is going to come on and tell you about that.
Put the link in the chat. We are, this network is officially 1 year old. So we're bringing our members and friends together tomorrow at 1 o'clock and 10 o'clock UTC to celebrate, share stories about Blue Marble evaluation, and all are welcome. And our final webinar of the year is on December 16th, where Michael will be doing a year in review. So join us for either or both of those. And if you're not a member, it's free to join. We want you to join our family and continue this work.
Happy Thanksgiving to those of you who are celebrating it this week, and to everyone else. We appreciate your being a part of this. Hope to see some of you tomorrow. Goodbye.
Thank you all. We'll see you at the anniversary celebration. Thank you.